My task is to give you some background on the Federal Advisory Committee Act and on the creation and operation of this council. Citizen advisory committees have been around since the time of George Washington, who sought the advice of a committee during the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. However, much of the growth of advisory committees occurred after World War II. And with that growth, Congress eventually became concerned about those committees and their operations, and as a result, passed the Federal Advisory Committee Act in 1972. And you'll hear us sometimes call it FACA for short, one of our first acronyms of the day. And as I said, this is the statute that governs this group's activities. And I don't want to dwell too much on too many details, but I do think that it's helpful to understand the space that we operate in and a bit of why it is the way it is. So, in 1972, one concern that Congress had was the proliferation of committees and the accompanying waste of federal funds. An investigation by a congressional committee in 1970 estimated that there were at least 2,600 interagency and advisory committees, and possibly as many as 3,200. And the number may have been even larger because many agencies were not even able to provide accurate records of all of the committees that they had. The report also estimated that the annual cost of maintaining these many advisory bodies was approximately $75 million. And so Congress combated this concern by implementing a scheme of structured management under FACA. In particular, agencies must file charters for each advisory committee, which provides a record of each committee's existence and purpose. Each charter expires every 2 years and must be proactively renewed by the agency. And this hopefully prevents committees that have outlived their usefulness from continuing to languish. In addition, the President must make an annual report to Congress on the advisory committees in existence during the previous year. And finally, each meeting of an advisory committee must be attended by the designated federal officer for that committee, which is a federal employee selected by the agency. And this provides a bridge between the private sector attendees and the agency. Another concern that Congress had in 1972 was the lack of transparency and accountability of advisory committees. In general, the meetings of these many bodies were not public, and the congressional report concluded that it was impossible to find accurate and complete records on all committees. So in response to this concern, Congress required elements of public access in FACA. The U.S. House report on this legislation reflects the belief that the requirement for openness is a strong safeguard of the public interest. In support of that belief, the meetings of advisory committees must be open to the public with very few, very narrow exceptions. The agency is also required to give timely advance notice of the time and place of the meeting to ensure public access to deliberations of the council. The records of advisory committees are also open to the public, including minutes of meetings, the committee's charter, materials considered by the committee, and any reports or advice issued by the committee. Another important concern that Congress had was that special interests had captured advisory committees and were exerting undue influence on public programs in which those groups had vested interests. For example, the House discovered that when the Advisory Council on Federal Reports considered a proposed National Industrial Waste Inventory questionnaire, the Council met only with representatives of industry, 11 members. And the driving purpose behind each of our meetings is to provide you, the members of the Council, with enough background information about the energy resource issues about which we're seeking advice. And then the primary deliverable resulting from each meeting is advice from you to TVA. Any advice provided by the Council requires the affirmative vote of at least a majority of the Council membership present.